Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're going into an incredibly moving, a really insightful memoir. It's a story that uses food, family, and cultural identity as this powerful lens to explore grief, profound grief. We're unpacking excerpts from Michelle Zauner's phenomenal book, Crying in H Mart. And this isn't just, a story about loss. It's more like this vibrant tapestry woven with memory, heritage, and that constant search for belonging.
That's right. And it is a memoir, so it's deeply personal, incredibly rich with detail. Our job here isn't just to summarize it for you. We want to pull out the most poignant insights, really try to understand the layers of emotion and connection in her story.
So as we get into this, let's maybe keep this question in mind. How do we hang on to the people, the cultures that shape us, especially when they're gone? And how does something so ordinary, like a grocery store, just sharing a meal, become this sanctuary for memory and identity? Okay, let's start with H Mart itself, the Korean grocery store. It's the central metaphor, really. Even the name, Han Al-Riem, means something like one armful of groceries.
Right, it's such a physical, tangible name. And H Mart is so much more than just a store in the book. Zauner paints it as this haven,
Yeah.
where parachute kids who were sent abroad for school, they find the instant noodles that taste like home. It's where families get their specific rice cakes for New Year's soup, teokguk. And she points this out. It's the only place you can find a huge tub of peeled garlic because it understands how people actually cook and eat.
Yeah.
It's freedom, she says, from that single ethnic aisle in regular supermarkets. It's a whole world.
And it's also a place of just raw emotion for her. She talks about crying near the bunch and refrigerators, the side dishes, remembering her mom's soy sauce eggs or cold radish soup.
Yeah.
Or standing in the freezer aisle holding dumpling wrappers, thinking about folding them with her mom for hours. She even finds herself near the dried goods literally asking herself, now am I even Korean anymore if there's no one left to call and ask which brand of seaweed we used to buy?
That's such a powerful question, isn't it? It ties identity directly to that loss, to that missing connection.
Absolutely.
And it shows something really key about grief, I think. How it's often triggered by something arbitrary, unexpected. She says she can talk about the really hard stuff, like her mom losing her hair or sleeping in hospitals, pretty matter-of-factly.
Okay.
But then she'll be in H Mart and sees some kid with those little rice cake frisbees, Byung Twiggy, and she just loses it. Because that brings back a simple, happy memory with her mom, and it just shatters her composure.
Wow. And there's not just sadness, right? She's really honest about the anger that comes with grief, too.
Oh, definitely. She talks about feeling this totally irrational anger towards an old Korean woman she sees, just thinking she gets to live and my mother does not,
Yeah.
as if it's somehow connected. She describes grief as a room with no doors, just constantly bumping up against the immutable reality of her mother's death. It's such a vivid image of feeling trapped.
Trapped, yeah.
But H Mart isn't just about her personal grief. She also calls it a beautiful, holy place. She describes the food court where all these displaced people gather. Chinese students driving 45 minutes for dumplings, 3 generations of Korean women eating stew. They don't talk about why they're there necessarily, but she feels this connection. We're all here for the same reason, she writes. We're all searching for a piece of home or a piece of ourselves.
It's a collective search, and that mirrors her own personal quest, doesn't it? She says she's not just there for, cuttlefish and 3 bunches of scallions for $1. She's searching for memories.
Exactly.
Trying to collect the evidence of the Korean half of my identity didn't die when they did. H Mart becomes this bridge, connecting her back to her mother before the illness, away from those painful memories of cancer treatments, remembering her mom as beautiful and full of life. Mom. So let's shift focus a bit to the relationship that really anchors this whole story, her dynamic with her mother. Her mom sounds, meticulous. Obsessed with appearances, QVC products, this intense 10-step skincare routine.
Right, the microcurrent wand. Zauner paints this picture of extreme care, almost perfectionism. And Zauner herself, totally impatient with all of it.
Yeah, real contrast.
And that perfectionism carried over into the house, didn't it? Daily vacuuming, oiling floors, reacting to a spill like it was a catastrophe.
Like we had set it on fire, she says.
Exactly. And Zauner felt kind of stranded and lonely growing up in the woods, just her and her mother. She felt her mom wasn't that warm, nurturing, mommy mom type she saw in her friends' houses.
But what's really interesting, you mentioned this earlier, is how different her mom was about food.
Totally different. That's the big exception. Strict about almost everything else, but food. Never forced her to eat anything, just insisted she try everything once.
That one rule.
Yeah, that single rule seems to have unlocked so much for Zauner. It let her develop this, quote, refined palate and even courage. She talks about eating sonakji, that's the live octopus.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and breaking down lobsters, eating steak tartare, raw sea cucumber, things many kids, maybe even adults, would shy away from. And those shared food moments became really significant. Eating dried cuttlefish and peanuts with pepper paste, drinking Corona together. Those midnight snacks in Seoul with her grandmother, Halmoni, eating raw crab, ganjang gajang.
And her mother saying,
This is how I know you're a true Korean. Food becomes their language, their connection point. It shows how just one area of freedom can shape someone's entire way of engaging with the world.
but that connection wasn't always smooth sailing, especially during the teenage years. She talks about having a nervous breakdown, feeling deep resentment towards her mother, even her touch.
Yeah, it got really difficult. She idolized her friend Colette's mommy mom and was quite harsh, actually, criticizing her own mother for just being a homemaker, seeing it as a lack of ambition almost.
That's tough.
It is, and it led to some incredibly painful moments. Her mother dismissing her band, calling her a starving musician,
Like
and then that absolutely shocking revelation during a fight.
the abortion.
I had an abortion after you because you were such a terrible child. Just devastating. And it highlights what Zauner saw as her mother's ability to keep matters private, to hold back like 10% of herself, something Zauner found both admirable and deeply unsettling.
Which leads us into the really difficult part of the story, the illness. It starts with stomach problems.
Right. Initially misdiagnosed as pancreatic cancer, then the actual diagnosis. Stage IV, squamous cell carcinoma, bile duct cancer. And that chilling detail, if they'd done the first surgery they planned, she would have just bled out on the operating table.
Unbelievable. And Zauner's reaction is immediate.
Completely. Drops everything, quits 3 jobs, puts the band on hold, flies straight home. And she describes this intense effort to look poised and put together, meeting her mom at the airport, putting more care into her appearance than for any date or job interview.
Wanting to return an adult.
Exactly. Wanting to be the strong, capable daughter her mother needed right then. It's such a relatable impulse, isn't it? Trying to be strong for someone you love who's suffering.
Absolutely. And then you see this dramatic role reversal. Zauner becomes the meticulous one, logging medications, tracking bowel movements, obsessively counting calories, crushing pills onto ice cream.
Taking on her mother's traits, in a way.
Yeah, and the stress visibly affects her too. She loses weight, her hair starts falling out. She even says she wanted her body to be a physical warning that if she began to disappear, I would disappear too.
Wow. And then Kai enters the picture, her mother's friend.
Right, Kai. She becomes this incredible caretaker.
Invaluable. And Zauner has these really complex feelings about it. Guilt, feeling edged out by Kai's devotion, especially when Kai shaves her head in solidarity with her mother. And learning Kai's own backstory, her own experiences with loss, adds another layer. It shows how caregiving and grief connect people in unexpected ways.
But amidst all that heaviness, there's that one beautiful moment in the car. Right, driving her mom to chemo.
Ugh, yes. Holding hands, singing Barbra Streisand's Tell 'Em, ballroom dancing in their seats. It's this brief, fragile return to their earlier connection, just pure love in the middle of the struggle.
So needed.
But as her mom gets weaker, things change again. She starts speaking more Korean, which kind of excludes Zauner and her dad sometimes.
Creating distance again.
Yeah, and then that really raw confession her mother makes to Zauner about Kai. Michelle, she even wipes my ass. It just underscores the profound intimacy and value of Kai's care in those final stages. How vulnerable illness makes you.
And then the turning point. The chemo fails.
It didn't work. And Zauner, realizing the doctor lied about pain. But family history looms large, too. Her aunt Ununmi had also died from cancer. So they make that agonizing decision to stop treatment.
And her mother wants one last trip.
To Korea. To say goodbye to her country and to her older sister. It's heartbreaking. And her very last word, just pain.
Gut-wrenching. But then, almost immediately after this, there's this sudden shift towards celebration. The wedding.
Yeah, it's quite remarkable. Peter, her boyfriend at the time, now husband, is central here. Zauner decides, spur of the moment, to plan a wedding. In Korea. In 3 weeks.
Buys her dress in the hospital.
Incredible, right? She sees it as a fight for something positive, a celebration to look forward to when everything else felt so dark.
How do you find that joy, right?
It's a testament to resilience, I think. And the wedding itself sounds incredibly moving. Peter's vows, promising to be there in sickness and in health, must have hit differently under those circumstances.
Oh, absolutely.
And him dancing with her mother, Zauner calls him the last man she would ever approve of. And that image of her mother leaving the tent, weeping, was it joy? Frustration? Probably both. Just the sheer complexity of emotion in that moment.
And then, inevitably, her mother passes. The descriptions of her father's grief are so raw.
Yeah, sometimes I think about holding her nose, just desperate. And him giving Zauner her mother's wedding ring, this oversized and out-of-place weight, she calls it, an emblematic of loss.
And that image that haunts her.
The body being wheeled out in a black bag, that half-second flash, it sticks with her.
How does she cope right after?
It's interesting. She and Peter drive to this place, deterring orchards, somewhere connected only to her and her dad. Like trying to pretend just for a moment that her mom is still alive back home.
Wow.
And there's this striking image of her feeding goats, their wet tongues licking her palm, licking the wedding band her mother wore. It's so visceral, trying to feel something, some connection.
And the funeral itself. The headstone choice.
Lovely. An adjective her mother loved and used for Zauner. But her dad's reaction is just blunt. That's bullshit.
Shows there are different ways of grieving right there.
Absolutely. And Zauner comes to this realization that her mother's legacy wasn't necessarily in art pieces, but in the love she fostered. Her art was the love that beat on in her loved ones, finding meaning in nurture.
But the big emotional release doesn't happen at the funeral, does it?
No, interestingly, she holds it together for the eulogy. It comes later, unexpectedly, at a French restaurant with friends. She just collapses, finally lets herself sob and shake. It really underscores that grief isn't linear. It hits you when it hits you.
So after that release, how does she try to carry on her mother's legacy? You mentioned food earlier.
Yes, food becomes central again. She starts making doenjangjjigae, that comforting stew for her dad and relatives. She learns recipes from Monxi, the famous YouTube cook, like pine nut porridge, foods her mom made.
Becoming a digital guardian of that knowledge.
Exactly. And making kimchi from scratch becomes this huge undertaking. It transforms from something she'd just buy, maybe lazily toss into dishes, into this symbol of competence and hard work, connecting her to her mother's effort.
And dealing with her mother's belongings.
That's another really poignant part. Cleaning out the house, finding her own baby shoes, realizing the kind of foresight a mother must have to preserve things like that.
Right.
And she grapples with what to keep, what to discard. The urge to destroy painful reminders, hospital photos, the calorie notebook, versus preserving things that represent her mother's life, her art, her possessions. It's that tension between wanting to escape the pain and needing to hold on to the person.
And all this is happening while her music career starts taking off.
Right, under the name Japanese Breakfast. It gains traction after her mother's death, which adds another layer of complexity. Her essay, Love, Loss, and Kimchi, gets published in Glamour, and then she tours Asia.
Culminating in that sold-out show in Seoul, her birthplace.
A hugely symbolic moment. She talks about wishing her mom could be there, feeling conscious that the success we experienced revolved around her death. It's bittersweet. Her greeting the crowd, "Annyeonghaseyo," and then saying, "Welcome to my hoesa," my office, basically showing her family, this is it, this is what I built, making her mother's sacrifices feel real, somehow validated by her success.
But even with that success, her relationship with her Korean identity is still complicated, isn't it?
Yeah.
Very. There's the scene in the Korean bathhouse. And Ajuma, an older woman, asks her straight up, "Are you Korean?" And Zauner just freezes, feeling half in and half out,
Yeah.
realizing she spent years wanting to resemble my white peers. But now in that moment, she's terrified that the stranger can't see the Korean part of her at all, especially now that her main link, her mother, is gone.
That fear of losing the connection entirely.
Exactly. Which makes the moment with her Aunt Nami Imo so powerful. The blood ties moment.
With Google Translate.
Yes, Zauner types, "I don't want to be a burden." And Nami types back, emphatic no, no. And the robotic voice reads out her translation. That's blood ties. It just cuts through everything. The language barrier, the awkwardness. It's this pure, unconditional acceptance, a profound connection.
That must have been huge for her. And then there's karaoke.
Karaoke in Seoul with her aunts. Singing Coffee Hanjan. Zauner trying to follow the Korean lyrics, chasing the breakneck speed of a pinball, just hoping her mother tongue would guide her.
And she has this realization that she and her aunts are now each other's next best thing. They're sharing this memory, this song that really belonged to her mother, but she's somehow accessing it through them. It's like inheriting joy, inheriting connection.
That's beautiful. But the book doesn't shy away from difficult family dynamics either, like with her father.
No, it doesn't. It touches on arguments, like one in Vietnam over some fishy salad and a drunk driving accident of his that Zauner covered up, and his own deep grief, feeling cheated out of a childhood, a father, and then robbed of his wife. It shows how grief ripples through a family, affecting everyone differently but profoundly.
So it all comes back to this ongoing search, doesn't it?
Pretty much. Her exploration of her mother's life continues through objects, art, fragmented memories, trying to, as she puts it, decipher the secrets of inheritance without its key. It's a journey without a clear endpoint.
So wrapping this up, what are the big takeaways for us? This deep dive really shows that grief isn't some neat linear process. It's messy, cyclical, tangled up with who we are, our family history, and yeah, the simple, powerful stuff like food and memory.
Absolutely. It makes you think, doesn't it? When you lose someone who was, like Zauner's mother, a champion and an archive of your life, the keeper of your stories, how do you step into that role yourself? How do you become your own storyteller?
Yeah.
How do you piece together the fragments they left behind and find your own meaning in them? How do you carry their legacy, whatever that means to you?
And maybe think about this. What small things in your own life, things that seem totally arbitrary, might hold really deep emotional connections? Or unlock memories you thought were gone? Could it be a certain smell, a dish your grandmother made, maybe just a song you shared? What piece of yourself or your past is waiting there to be rediscovered in those everyday connections?